So, a proud Bristolian, welcome to Edinburgh.
Hey, welcome to
Nice to meet you.
Thank you very much for having me.
Have you been up here before?
I have indeed, yeah. I've been for the TV festival, been to the theatre festival. I've performed in front of like 3 people when there was 8 people in the cast. It's demoralising.
But
it's just such an incredible place. So I have a real affinity with Edinburgh. So always happy to come back.
What do you make of the Oriam Centre here? Not too bad at all.
This is absolutely banging. The future is bright, isn't it? The future of Scottish sport is absolutely bright.
We'll see, but let's not get too optimistic there.
Well, I am.
Yeah, no, appreciate the kind words. First off, what made you want to be an actor?
Well, do you know what? Like, it's weird that we're sat here because the thing that made me want to be an actor more than anything else was that I was absolutely terrible at football.
Really?
Yeah.
As we will find out later
on. We'll definitely find out later on. You know, like, I found it with every sport because I'm always really passionate about sport, and I keep I go into it with such gusto, and I'm rubbish at everything. I used to box at the boys' club, and then I ended up getting filled in, and my dad was just like, you've got to pack that in, you can't do that anymore. Cricket, I got substituted from a cricket match because I got hay fever so bad. I had a nosebleed and I was sick on the boundary, and I got taken off because I was sneezing so much. And football, I was just pathetic, but I used to play all the time, and I watched all my peers, everybody around me, just get better and better. And I'm like, why aren't you working? Like, all I want you to do is play for Bristol City. Why aren't you doing what I'm telling you to do? I was out training every day, playing with all my mates every day, and I just never got any better. But
what if you were asked to do a football role? Would you be up for it?
Mate, I played the most expensive footballer in the world for a radio play. And it's just as well that was the medium. That was the only medium that I could convince anybody that I was going to be the world's most expensive footballer. Because as we'll see, you put a ball at my feet and you'll see quite quickly that I wouldn't be worth a fiver.
You've got the haircut for a nice hooligan movie, maybe the next Football Factory.
I mean, that I could definitely do. Yeah. Standing on the terraces and shouting abuse at people, I could definitely do.
So you touched on growing up. Did you ever encounter a little bit of resistance from people who might have said, get a proper job?
Yeah, I remember a teacher telling me to get off Planet Hollywood or something like that. I can't remember why, because he used to say to me that empty vessels make no sound, because I was quite gobby in class. I think he probably had a point, but I had like a teacher that gave me that sense of direction, you're kind of gobby and you're excitable and stuff, and you haven't got any kind of sense of focus. And she gave me that kind of sense of focus. So yeah, there was definitely people that said it was a pipe dream and stuff, but not my parents. My parents were always super supportive, and we're definitely the kind of people that gave you that kind of consequence-free environment where you've got a right to fail. That's what being a young person should be. Making your mistakes, swinging big, and just trying things, because you're a long time dead. And it's I remember Jack Nicholson saying in The Departed, "Life's short, act accordingly," and I just think that always resonates with me.
One of my favourite films, so I'm going to welcome that that reference there. No, that's fantastic. What do you think you would be if you weren't an actor?
Always liked the idea of being a teacher.
Yeah,
I worked in a lot of schools and stuff like that, and nothing makes me buzz like I work with teachers that were just and I'm sure we all went to school and met teachers that are just there to pick up the paycheck. But when you meet a teacher that can play a class like a symphony, then that's a truly beautiful thing. Somebody like a vocational teacher, someone who eats, sleeps and breathes that profession and pours everything that they've got into the betterment and development of young people. I've been lucky enough to work with some of those people, and it's jaw-dropping.
Someone you still remember when you're 40 years old, basically.
Without a doubt. I think that everybody here can say that they can all remember that one teacher. If they walked into a room, you just go out, you get straight up and buy them a pint, and just go thank you, because they believed in you. And it's hard being a young person, probably harder now, more now than it is ever with social media and things like that. So the idea that you've got people there, that kind of. There was a teacher that I worked with, and he said, he told his class, he was like, don't laugh at anybody else in this class. He was just like, because he went, it's me that you should be laughing at. He was like, if someone doesn't understand anything, that's not their fault, that's my fault. So he's like, always put your hand up and I'll find a different way to be able to, to be able to teach you. And I thought that was brilliant to alleviate those kids of that kind of burden of responsibility of learning, so they could just enjoy it and go in every day. And then also, like, the kids aren't, like, backbiting and stuff, because he took that responsibility on himself. I just thought was absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, acting in some ways must be a little bit like football. Were you ever encouraged to have a backup in case it didn't pan out?
Do you know what? I mean, there are people that do, and those are sensible people. But there's part of me that's always felt that if you didn't have a backup, then there's nothing you can rely on. Like, sure. This is it. Be single-minded, be focused, be driven, like, be passionate and stuff like that. And hopefully, it will yield fruit. And for me, I'm really lucky that I did, like, that there has. But fingers crossed. I mean, the job application form for Greggs the Bakers is never too far from my in tray. And I don't have to wear hairnet as well, so it might be just the job for me.
Yeah, you never know. You never know.
So who were your acting heroes growing up? Who did you watch and think, I want to be that person?
Well, I've always thought that Jack Nicholson was really, really cool. Like, just people that make really bold and brave choices, just people that just are just unashamedly them. But actually, like, I see that, like, now I meet heroes every day that I get to work with and stuff, and, like, people that just impress me, not necessarily people that you would know or famous, but people that are just making bold choices, just being brave, and just like, and also some of them striking out. It's like, it's swinging big, it's being brave and stuff, because I have stunk out every rehearsal room up and down the UK, because if you can't make your mistakes in that, in those rehearsal rooms, that audition room or anything like that, then really you're never going to come up with anything authentic and different and honest, like, you have to fail, and that is part and parcel of it. So anybody this brave inspires me. But I remember, in terms of performances and stuff like that, I remember seeing Matt Damon in what's that film? Good Will Hunting. Thank you. Yeah, and then just thinking, yeah, I mean, what a part that is. And Robin Williams as well. Again, like, just incendiary performances that just, like, draws you to the screen like moth to a flame. And it'd be lovely, at the end of my career, at the end of my life, to have created a body of work or one thing that would be anywhere near that good. But you're always seeking perfection, aren't you? And you'll never achieve it, and that's the most exciting thing about it, because it's flawed, isn't it? It's human, and everything's, like, inherently flawed. So there'll always be bits, and you're like, I bet, like, I'm watching that thinking that's perfect. He's probably sat there watching that, thinking, oh, I shouldn't have done that, or I shouldn't have done that. Like, that's it. Like, that kind of relentless pursuit of perfection, or trying to achieve something beautiful, is like a life's work. And I think that seems like it'd be a life, for me, a life well spent.
Absolutely.
So, so sports-based charity, what we'll do is we'll do a couple of little challenges with you. I know you're not a big player, but this will be your new acting role for the day, okay? So we're going to do a crossbar challenge and a penalty shootout.
Mate, I've seen you play. You're a proper Andy, you.
When?
I watched you then.
Yeah,
I was like, oh man, I'm going to get mugged right off. Okay, let's do it.
We'll see. Bar.
Oh, that was all right, that. Better than mine. It's 1-0 Scotland, isn't it?
What was the first role you got as a full-time actor, and how did it feel?
I remember going from university. I went for a 2-line part in Casualty to play a Bristolian engineer, car engineer, and I didn't get it. And I was like, wow. Yeah. 2 lines in a Bristolian accent playing an engineer. I was like looking at myself thinking, I could pass as an engineer. I reckon I could deliver them 2 lines in a Bristolian accent, like, reasonably believable as another human being. Oh, mate, I mean, no, I can't now. I tried to put it back in my mind, but I didn't get it. Yeah. And then I getting called back, and in the end getting the guest lead in an episode of Casualty, where I played a bulimic bouncer, and everyone thought that I was beating up my girlfriend, and it turns out that she was beating me up, and then Charlie had to apologise to me at the end
Good
of
old
it all.
Charlie. You can't talk about Casualty and not mention Charlie.
Absolutely. I mean, like, he's a national treasure. Like, he's like, and so, like, I remember him kind of congratulating me at the end of the. I had to break down and stuff. I had to go and get my teeth all done because the bulimia rotted away, the acid of the teeth and stuff like that. And I'm crying, just saying like I'm like worthless, I'm nothing and stuff like that. And it was really painful, really like it was a really well written episode and stuff like that. And I poured myself into it and absolutely emptied myself out. And then he was shaking my hand, and this other lady came over, and I went back to the hotel because it was filming in Bristol at the time, and I just couldn't believe that like the BBC had paid me to be in my city and stay in a hotel bang in the centre of town and stuff. I was like, I don't know, early 20s and stuff, and I came home and I was so pleased that I did a good job that I was jumping. I remember just jumping up and down on my bed, just really like euphoric that not because it's one thing just going, oh, I'm an actor. I mean, anyone could say say that, but like the idea of it being vindicated for the first time, that choice and the sacrifices that you make to get there being vindicated in a very real way, like people then just going, yeah, you are an actor, and you're like, oh.
And you shared that moment with good old Charlie as well.
Oh, I shared it with good old Charlie as well. So that was that was a hell of a thing, and that will live long in the memory. Although the day after, my mates, two of my mates, we were all got into a thing where we were scaring one another. So when I went to work, they went to the concierge of this hotel and just went, oh, my name's Joe Sims, I'm working for the BBC. In my rush, I forgot my room card, and they printed them off a room card, and he went, oh, and I forgot what room number it is, right? And they went and hid under my bed for 2 hours until I come home, and then jumped me from my hotel room. I'd like to say that I took them both down like a marine, but I absolutely screamed. Oh, mate!
What, the super fans had broken into your room already? Yeah.
They were just two divvies from my school, two of my best mates, but they got me good. So I had that wonderful euphoric feeling one day, and then just a crushing blow that like actually when the poo hits the fan, then I'm a big wimp.
I think that's a fantastic prank. I like these guys. I'm told you're the king of accents. Is this true?
No.
No.
I think if you've got like a strong regional accent and you're gonna try and make a go of acting,
You're the king of a Bristol accent.
Well, I think you've got to learn to lose it. Or you've got to be able to lose it, because otherwise, you're going down a very kind of niche market. And I was very lucky then to do 12 months on the Radio Drama Company. And if there's any actors watching, there's never a job that I've ever had this better than working at the RDC. It's a great place because you're doing radio plays all the time. So working with loads of great actors, great writers, great directors, and it's very nurturing and you get to play with different voices and different characters. So yeah, it was amazing. So I think really being an actor is like a weird one, because I spend so much of my time in my room playing with voices and accents and walks and looks and stuff like that. Where when you're rehearsing, that if you were my neighbours, you'd be thinking I'm up to all sorts, because obviously when you're 6'3" with a shaven head and a face your mother could love, then you're going up for those kind of roles, the ne'er-do-wells.
Yeah.
I don't get the girl next door, but I might be hitting her over the head with a shovel.
I always remember Rowan Atkinson saying he used to literally stand in front of the mirror for hours and hours and hours doing all these expressions. Is that quite common amongst actors?
Absolutely. Some of the some of the behaviour is just downright weird. Now I've got a son and stuff, I'm more acutely aware of it, because he just maybe in the darkest recesses of his mind, he might remember his dad just being in a room just making noises and just being a bit odd. And it's all to pay the mortgage, son. It's not my fault.
At least you're an actor. You have a reason. It's not like you're working in Greg's doing all these voices in your room,
Yeah, but I think I would do anyway. You know what I mean? Because I think it's fun to do these kind of things. It's fun to play with your voice. It's fun to do loads of stuff like that. And I've always just been a bit weird that way, so I just get pleasure from doing that. But some people are really good mimics and stuff and can do impressions of people. I can't do that. But
can you do a good Scottish accent?
Well,
you've got 4 Scots surrounding you here, so no pressure.
Well, it is a lot of pressure in it, and also I think that when people know that you're not, not from somewhere, then they're looking for those kind of looking for you to fail.
I can't talk about your career and not mention Broadchurch. Where you must have been delighted by the reaction to it.
It was amazing. Yeah. I was saying to you before, after that, the idea like you're out with your mum and dad and stuff like that, and people are like stopping you for photos and stuff, and my dad's like, what do you want your photo taken with that moron for? And justifiably so, like whenever people want like, you know, like a photo or an autograph or anything like that, like absolutely honoured. But I'm just an absolute duffer. I don't know why you would want that, but you're very welcome to it. Why not? But yeah, I mean, it was amazing. The idea of like working with all those fantastic people, and you know, your countryman David Tennant was an absolute privilege. I worked with him. I did we did Romeo and Juliet on the radio together, so I'd met him before, and when I got to the read through, I walk in and he introduced me to all the other actors, which is lovely, because you walk in like just a kid from from Bristol, and you're like, there's Olivia Colman, there's Jodie Whittaker, there's Pauline Quirk, and it's just class. Like, and then when he went over there and they're like, oh, what's your name and stuff, and they're like, and you're like, I'm Olivia, I'm Pauline. You're like, yeah, I know you are. I've seen you on the telly.
I've seen you in Peep Show.
Yeah.
Do you feel under more pressure when you're working with names like that? Do you feel like I need to be really on my game here?
I don't think it matters what you're doing. If you're taking a job, my dad always said to me, he was just like, never be ashamed to pick out your pay packet. And I like, you know, and again, whether I'm working at Greggs or whether like, you know, I was making a Hollywood movie, then I would exercise due diligence and I would do my very, very best. So I like the idea that David Tennant and Olivia Colman are acting opposite me, like, you know, is a great pleasure, but I'd have already put in that kind of graft irrespective.
Cool.
Oh my God.
That's true.
How much do actors lie about their special skills to get a part?
Oh, all the time.
Yeah.
Like all the time. Like my agent always says, tell him you can do it, and then we'll try and work it out. My mate got a job as a regular on this series, and we had to drive like a fire engine, and he hadn't even passed his driving test. But he took the job, and in the end, they just like moved him to one side. They let someone else do the driving. But horse riding's the one. Everyone said that they could be a horse rider, and these last 2 jobs that I've done, I've learned, so I can do it now.
Really?
Yeah.
Had you lied about that before?
Yeah, absolutely. I was like, yeah, I can horse ride, and then they sent me up for some lessons and stuff. I was in a film in Indonesia, and I got taken out of a shot because there was meant to be a polo scene, and I was meant to be riding this polo horse, and the man saw me on the horse. He was like, I can't make that man look like he believably rides a horse in 24 hours.
I'd quite like to see that. That's quite funny.
It was, yeah. I'm embarrassed to say that I lied about that, but now I can do it. So, yeah, if you've got a horse in, I'm definitely better on a horse than I am at football.
Fake it to make it.
That's
what
exactly
they say.
right. That's
it?
right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
Fair enough. Let's talk about mental health, obviously.
Yeah.
So how would you describe your own experiences, either through things that you've encountered or the people around you? You know, what's your experience of mental health?
Do you know what? I like, you know, for me, I feel like we struggle with like a toxic masculinity. Like, yeah, like where it feels like there should be like like we pride above all things some kind of like British stoicism and a stiff upper lip, and I feel like that's starting to change. I hope that's starting to change. I think there's like a seismic shift in like, you know, that like, you know, anything we might previously have thought there might have been. We couldn't go and speak to people, or we couldn't talk to our mates and stuff like that. I'm so lucky that, like, you know, I moved to London when I was 19, and I feel that like it's a 21st century family, friends. Like, you handpick those people, you know. Like I feel like more than anything, like my greatest ever achievement is being like a curator of like fantastic people, and all those people have got aspects and facets of their character that I could only dream to have. But I feel like we're stronger together. That feeling of unity, there's certain people that then I can go to for certain things. So if I'm feeling a little bit sad, I feel like prevention's better than cure. So like if I feel like, you know, that I'm particularly down, or something's really like, you know, like hurting me, or like you know, stopping me from from feeling good, then I feel like I just need to kind of let the valve off a little bit, go and vent, go and speak to somebody, and I feel like I thank God. I don't thank God. I'm an atheist. I thank Thor. I don't know. I'm thanking somebody. I like, you know, like
David Tennant.
Thank David Tennant. Yeah, like society. That I like, you know, I'm just really, really lucky that I've got like, you know, a network of people that I can call upon, and I absolutely do. And I think it's like, you know, I think it's important. Like, you know, to ask for help, I think, is the ultimate sign of strength.
Yeah.
Like for people, like, you know, for people to try and sell that to you as a weakness, like asking for help, I just think is crazy. Anybody just trying to sell you that lie is probably a dangerous person to have in your life. It's important to talk, and to talk often, and to listen as well. Like, you know, to make yourself available to people in the way that you would want to be made available to.
Do you think this male bravado is quite firmly out of date now, and that we need to get over it a little bit?
Oh, I mean, I certainly feel that way. Like, you know, you know, and like I say, I feel like there's a seismic shift coming and stuff like that, because the more like, you know, we're able to kind of talk and have a conversation and stuff. You know, I always feel like my tax bill or something like that, I panic about it, I freak out about it, like, oh God, how am I going to pay that? And like, it's like, you know, terrifying. And then, no matter how bad the news is, like, I could deal with it because I know what it is. Like, I worry about it. Have you ever spoken to a mate, like, and you're like, oh, I must be the only person who feels this way, or like, you know, this is really stupid. And then all of a sudden, it feels like a burden's lifted. They're like, oh yeah, I feel like that all the time. You're like,
And sometimes you don't even need advice, you just need to say it out loud a little bit, to say, I'm having this problem.
Yeah, absolutely. And immediately it feels like you feel freer, and you feel lifted. Like, you know, things can often feel insurmountable, and when that happens, you know, we have this, like, you know, human tendency to close ourselves off at the very time where you need to kind of, you know, to open yourself up, you know, like, that's how I feel anyway. And like, and it feels like the hardest thing in the world, like, to open yourself up, because, you know, all you want to do is like curl up into a ball or whatever, and like, you know, and you feel like no one understands you and stuff. But actually, like, you know, if you are able to, like, you know, if you can summon that kind of strength, then, like, you know, I can't speak for everybody else, but I find that liberating. Just keep chatting.
We do have a tendency to hide away when we're struggling, rather than maybe surround ourselves with the people who could help.
And that's the thing, like, you know, and, you know, like that feeling of unconditional friendship and support, like, you know, just, it's just an amazing, like, is an amazing feeling, right? Like, you know, that you know, through your deeds and actions and stuff like that you've managed to find, like, you know, other members of, like, you know, like other members of this planet that, like, you know, that love you and just want to go out for a beer with you, or like want to make sure that you're okay and stuff like that. And they've got no reason to do that other than the fact that you're just a decent bloke. You know, I mean, that for me is just, that's an amazing feeling. Like, the idea that people who, like, yeah, your mum's gotta love you, you know. And so I'm very grateful, mum, that, you know, like, you know, that she does, and I love her to bits as well. But the idea that there are people out there that have chosen me in the same way as I've chosen them, I'm very
it's a nice
grateful.
compliment, isn't it? If someone's willing to open up their deepest, darkest secrets to you, it's a nice compliment.
Oh, can you imagine? Because, like, really, you're never more prone or vulnerable and stuff like that when you, like, you turn around to somebody and just go, "This is me." I always think older people normally say, "Oh, that like, you know, when someone dies or someone goes, that person was a saint," or anything like that, and they just go, you know, you got to earn my trust or something like that. Like, you know, you earn trust, and I don't think that's true. Trust is something you give. Like, it's a gift that you give to someone. Like, you look at someone in the eye and just go, "I love you, like please don't let me down."
I felt like you were really looking at me. That was quite nice. I love you too, Joe.
Oh, thanks, mate. But you know what I mean? Like when you
Yeah.
talk to someone, you just go, "I love you." Don't let me down. This is me, warts and all. This is this is who I am. And I just think that so it isn't like trust isn't something that needs to be earned. Trust is something that you give away, and then you just hope that people are careful with it.
Yeah, I've got something I'm quite happy to share. My leg has gone to sleep. My leg is completely
Come
dead.
on, come here.
Come on, what did you play in Casualty again?
There we
Oh,
are.
yeah.
That's the ticket.
I knew I loved you from the
Yeah,
moment I
we
saw
are.
you.
All good.
Hey, that's enough. Come on. I've worked with a number of performers across sport, acting, presenters, and whatnot. But a lot of people do say to me that actors in particular can be quite susceptible to mental health issues because of certain elements of the job, rejection, for example, that you mentioned, and maybe gaps in work. How do you manage that, and would you agree with that?
Again, like for me, I mean, rejection is definitely part of it. You can't ignore it, and it doesn't go away. And it's one of them things, you always think to yourself, there you go, well, just don't worry about that now. Well, I do worry about that. If that's a job that I really, really want, then that's all I can think about. Every time the phone goes off my pocket, I'm like my agent and stuff like that. And it's all very well me saying to you, you know what, you haven't got to worry about that. You've got to play your own furrow, you've got to do your own thing, run your own race and all that kind of stuff. But if you can do that, then tell me how. Because we're human beings, we're fallible. When people we get affected by rejection, it hurts. Don't take it personally. Well, I understand theoretically that I'm not supposed to take it personally, but I do take it personally, and it makes me feel sad. And I can get down about it, and I can get ratty about it, and I can take it out on people that don't deserve it, because I'm fallible. I'm just a human being, and I make mistakes, and I can be spiteful, and I can be I can be sad, and I can get down. So I don't know how to circumvent it really in truth. But what I do know, there's a really brilliant podcast called the Two Shot Pod, which I did, and it's a bit like listening to other actors and stuff like that, and hearing their stories makes you feel better again. It's just like talking, talking to your mate and stuff, and you go, yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
I had something very. There's I had a friend that was in AA, and I took her to AA, and one of the first things that they were saying were don't look for the differences, but look for the similarities. And I think that's true. The more people that you speak to and stuff like that, you can find the similarities in your own life, and you can find that kind of common ground. And I think that's really, really important. So again, the more people that you listen to, it doesn't mean that everybody that you speak to is going to be speaking good sense. Some people have got some remarkably terrible takes on life and stuff like that, but the more people that you speak to, the more kind of layers there are to your onion. So the better that we the better we are, or the better equipped we are for anything that may befall us. And so I feel like that's the best way I know how to kind of combat it. But also going out for a run, going out for a pint with a mate, going and playing with my son or anything like that. These are bespoke answers to my personal problems. Everybody's got to try their own thing, haven't they? But I defy anybody to tell me that they don't feel down, or they don't feel sad, or they they don't need an arm around the shoulder and stuff like that. And social media is horrible for it, because it perpetuates this relentless this relentless feeling that everyone else is having a better time than you. And we're not, we're all in a muddle. We're just, all of us are just a bunch of people in a muddle. Just some people are better at hiding it from the world than others, or able just to put up this kind of veneer of success.
Yeah. Have you ever had that moment where you're like, I've proper buggered this up?
What really stunk the place out?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, loads. I mean, I suppose I'm lucky on TV and stuff like that. If I make a choice and it's a terrible choice, I get to go again and do something again. But in theatre as well, sometimes you might have an awful show, but you can go away and rectify it the following day. The most important thing that I try and keep in my mind is I'm not an open heart surgeon. No one's dying. If I'm rubbish, and I will be rubbish, there are nights where I'm gonna have an off day, for reasons I don't know. I want to try and make it better. I want to try and fix it. But we're very lucky that in our industry, no one dies. Like you had a really bad night or whatever, and then you get an opportunity, like your next big show, to go and sort it out, and then you do, and then everything everything feels okay again. I think the danger is to put too much emphasis on success or failure in our chosen profession, because it doesn't vindicate you. It doesn't make you like the complete being or whatever. Like, you're always looking ahead, just going, or if I do this, then I'll be happy. Or and I think everybody, it doesn't matter whether you're an actor or a presenter or a sportsman or anything like that. Every person goes, if I move house, if I get this perfect house, then it's going to be okay. It won't. It's not going to be the answer to all your problems. You have to each and every day look at yourself in the mirror and just go how can I make myself happy? And no one's going to thank you for it. Really, that's the thing. There isn't some big kind of pomp and ceremony or whatever. Just going, keep it up, fantastic, you're doing a really good job. But getting better and being better is a daily, hourly, relentless pursuit. But my contention is, it's completely worth it. Self-betterment or whatever, or just feeling better and feeling happier, because those moments of euphoria or those moments of happiness, sometimes they can feel really remote and quite far away when you're feeling down. But if you can hang on to that memory and know that you can feel like that again, and trust in the fact that you can feel like that again, then I think that's something that you should always carry with you.
Hypothetical situation, you're having the worst day, but you need to go and do your job. You've got a crew all around you, and you're performing alongside Olivia Colman, David Tennant, so on and so on. How do you G yourself up for that?
It's hard. Do you know what? I was going to say it's hard. I don't think it is hard, actually. I feel like, when I'm feeling low, then actually it's nice because work sustains you. It's a chance, when you're acting, you take yourself out. You use all the things that you go through in your life, and all the trials and tribulations and successes and failures and stuff to inform the characters you're playing. But when you're actually playing that character, it's kind of nice just to kind of go missing from whatever's happening in Joe's head for a little bit and go somewhere else. So I don't think that that's particularly hard at all. That can be the most rewarding, because you can go and hide maybe somewhere for a little bit.
Yeah. As an actor, obviously you have to become quite immersed in a part, immersed in a show or a project. Is it ever difficult to stop that from slipping into Joe Sims' personality and not just that character?
Because like we said before, the kind of characters I play are
Dark.
Ne'er-do-wells often, and so I'm pleased to say that I've had a few confirmed kills on set and on stage, but never in real life.
Yeah.
And so never murdered anyone. So if you're watching, Ma, I hope you're proud. I think that there's an amount of emotional honesty that you need to try and find in every character, and so when you're playing, I had to play a real life murderer, somebody who was sentenced for killing a girl in Bristol, and I find that desperately hard. How do you arrive there? What would motivate you to do that kind of thing? How could you be that kind of how could you be that person? But you got to dig deep, and you got to try and find a way to be your own hero, if that makes sense, or legitimize your behavior, legitimize that behavior, and
Hopefully you won't kill anyone.
Well, no, but hopefully I did it. But yeah, you do have to go to some really dark places and think some particularly dark thoughts, I suppose, in order to be able to elicit the kind of performance that people would believe.
Do you think some actors struggle with that?
Go to those dark places and then try and to return. I'm sure that they
Especially
do.
the method actors. They must go through some experiences.
Yeah, I think there's a danger of acting for catharsis, which I think can be quite dangerous. It's a job, and it's important to remember that. I do there's an exercise and stuff that I do with young people where you go, you're working on states. So 5 being just a kind of average state, 0 being the darkest, deep, the darkest, lowest you've ever felt, and 10 the most kind of euphoric. And I always caveat it by saying, if you feel like you're going somewhere that you don't feel like you're comfortable with and whatever, then don't go there. Because I did a tour Italy, where I played Frankenstein's monster. They were bringing the classics, the British classics, to Italy, and it was a fantastic role for me to play Frankenstein's monster. And I split up with my fiancée, and like Frankenstein's monster, has got this kind of 3-minute monologue where all he wants to be is loved. Like, you know, he's like, why won't anyone love me? Because of the way I look, because of the way that I am. I'm paraphrasing, but I mean, I've just split up with my fiance and I'm saying these words, and we were in Venice, and I lost my shit. I was weeping, like, and you know, there was nothing more honest than that performance, because I was absolutely dying, like, you know, I mean, because I was broken-hearted, and I was on my knees just weeping in front of 500 people, and I just wasn't sure that I was going to be able to get myself back from that, and that might have been the most honest performance that I've ever given, but there's a danger to go in there professionally. It wasn't really fair on the cast, because I wasn't in control, and you know, I think the best actors always stay in control.
I mean, I read about Nicolas Cage in the 80s once pulled his own teeth out for a role.
In Birdie, for Birdie. Yeah.
Do you think there is, you know, and in one respect it's like, wow, the commitment to that role is incredible, but do you think there is this danger of going too far to the point where it could damage your mental health?
Oh yeah, I do. Yeah, like, I mean, if I was playing someone with, I don't know, like, I don't know, heaven forbid, like, you know, like, I don't know, cancer or something like that, I wouldn't want to get it just so I could walk a mile in that person's shoes. You know, you might visit hospices and stuff like that, you might read accounts. Again, it's due diligence, but you have to protect yourself. You know, looking after yourself is so important. Loads of people and things come and go in your life and things like that, but the only constant is you. You'll get up every day and you're looking at mirror and stuff like that. So it's so important to kind of look after yourself, and that looks different for everybody. Like, you know, but be selfish. Like, take that time to look after yourself. Like, pulling your teeth out because, like, you know, because your character like has to pull one of your teeth out. I mean, that for me just seems a bit much, doesn't it? I mean, you know, fair play to him, but like, yeah, I ain't pulling my teeth out. Not a chance.
Do you think an actor speaking out about having mental health issues in public would be detrimental to getting a part?
No.
How does the industry perceive these issues?
Well, I mean, I can't speak for everybody in an industry, but certainly I'd like, you know, I applaud that kind of bravery. People, like, you know, being an actor is a study of the human condition, and so, like, you know, people being candid about that, like, you know, that like, you know, their mental health, like, who doesn't? Like, mental health isn't something that just like affects some people and not be everybody. But everybody has got their mental health and it should be looked after. I don't understand why. I don't know. Like, there's lots of kind of drop-in centres for like, you know, like, you know, if you want to go in for a bit of therapy or anything like that. Like, why wouldn't you have that? Like, if you're feeling, like, you know, poorly or whatever, you go to a doctor. So prevention's better than cure. Like, yeah, let's keep talking. Let's go in there, like, go in for an hour or whatever. Like, you know, keep looking after yourself. So yeah, if, like, you know, I mean, people should talk about it. Like, you know, and you know, if they're starting to feel like they're struggling, or they're, like, you know, again, I mean, it's liberating, I think, to talk. And so I think anybody can, like, you know, come out and said it, because I think you've got an obligation too, as, like, you know, someone in the public eye. You know, especially with, like, you know, young people that are watching you and stuff like that, for those people to strike out and just go, well, sometimes I struggle, sometimes I find it tough. You know, like, yeah, me too. Then all of a sudden they feel buoyed, they feel lifted. Like, you know, they might have conversations with their friends and stuff, and then it gathers momentum, and we all collectively just get better and breathe a little easier. So I think, yeah, I think anybody in the public eye, you know, if you feel so compelled, and you feel like, you know, that you want to talk about it, should.
Yeah. You talked about young people there. I mean, people like The Rock, Stormzy, all of these characters have come out and said, yeah, I struggle with mental health. How important is it for young people in particular that these people who are considered as role models do continue to speak out?
I think it's so important because, again, like, you know, we're better together, aren't we? Like, you know, the more you hear people, you know, like, we're fallible. Everyone's fallible. Like, you know, we all have moments of weakness. Like, you know, when we also come to moments of weakness as well, and that's okay. Like, there isn't anybody this like universally strong or whatever. And I think that if you are, like, you know, showing that kind of rigidity, you will eventually shatter. So it's okay. Show your softer side and just keep chatting. So, like, you know, I mean, blimey, you know. The Rock, like, yeah, if The Rock's struggling, then what hope anybody else has got? Like, you know, so it's okay. It's all right to be you. It's all right to say that you're struggling. It's all right just to ask for help or just go, can I go for a coffee or go for a pint or something like that? And, like, you know, and your mates will come. Like, you know, that's how I've always found it anyway. You know, and I just, you know, just been so grateful to these people that have just been there for me when I really, really needed them. And yeah, I'm certainly grateful for anybody in the public eye that puts themselves out there and just says, you know what, like, yeah, me too. Like, you know, I struggle too, because no one's immune.
Of course, as The Rock will tell you.
Absolutely, and it's good to smell what he's cooking.
Depends what he's cooking. Male suicide rates higher than ever, unfortunately. As a guy, you know, when you think about that, what would you attribute that to?
Do you know what? I mean, genuinely, like, you know, I don't know. I feel like British stoicism, like, you know, it can be a problem. I think toxic masculinity can be a problem. I think that, like, you know, like people that bully other people, say, for example, are just projecting their own insecurities, you know, and that's the way that it's always been. I feel like there's probably not enough provisions been made, like, in this age of austerity. People are just like have just had the rugs, like, you know, just ripped from underneath them, and I think that's a real shame, because, you know, we've got more people using food banks in, like, you know, than ever before. There's more people, like, you know, they're struggling before, and again we get this constant perpetual like, you know, cycle of, like, targeted marketing and advertising, and, like, you know, and Facebook with filters and Snapchat just going, I got a six-pack, I'm doing okay, I'm on holiday, like, you know, and actually you might not be. You might be sat there kind of crying in front of a green screen or whatever, you know, because those people are probably hurting too, because all it is just this kind of this veneer of happiness and a veneer of acceptability, and we got to stop aspiring to that shit. Like, you know, I mean, at the end of the day, like, you've got to do what it is that makes you happy, and that's different for everybody. But, you know, I'm not like, you know, taking photos of stuff and then post them on the internet just so I can kind of rub people's noses in, like, you know, a time where I remember taking a photo of, like, me and my son or whatever, and we were on a beach and we were having a lovely, like, you know, and it was a lovely photo, like, you know, it was like lush beach and stuff, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna send that, like, you know, I don't know, I might put on Facebook or something like that. But he just had a little bout of diarrhea and he just pooed over his shirt. So, but you haven't seen that. But that for me is the metaphor. Like, you know, like, you know, out of that shot, I've got shit all over me, you know. And
Did you post it?
That's it. Like, but I should have taken a photo of that as well, because that for me just embodies everything. Like, you know, because on the face of it, and you could probably put some kind of, I don't know, some more filters on it to make it look even better, to make our teeth look even whiter, to make it look like you got even more of a
darker shade of shit.
Yeah, I could have done that. Yeah, exactly.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I expect there's probably an app that could, like, you know, make the shit glitter. I don't really know, but
Possible, is it?
if not, this could be our £1 million making idea.
Oh, let's not share it on camera then. Fair enough. Is there anything you would like to see the arts in general do more to raise awareness of mental health issues? Not to say that they don't do anything, but is there anything you would like to see more of?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like for people to, like, you know, like anybody that feels that there's any kind of stigma related to mental health or whatever, it should just be a lot more overt. Everything should be a lot more overt. We should just, like, you know, I know I keep saying it and I'm kind of beating it to death, but, like, you know, let's just keep talking, you know, because, like, you know, because I think isolation, loneliness and stuff like that can often be, like, you know, our greatest opponent. It's the greatest opponent to happiness. You know, like, you know, thinking no one else understands or whatever, or, like, you know, or you can't reach out to anybody, is like, you know, is when we become our own worst enemy. Like, well, certainly that's how I feel anyway. Like, you know, I'm not here to tell people definitively how to live their life, because I am not well placed to do that, because I don't know myself. I'm putting one foot in front of the other and just trying to get on with my life as best as I can, and each day wake up and try and be as happy as I possibly can. And I do that by trying to fill my life, you know, with fun stuff and with love and with people that are worthy of that kind of, like, you know, that time and care and stuff. The people that I give my trust to and stuff, and hope that they don't waste it. Because I don't know about you, but I spent my 20s trying to, like, you know, trying to get the validation of people that weren't worth one of my tears. You know, trying, like, you know, trying to be seen at, like, cool places and do cool things and stuff. And, like, the minute you could just part that and just do the things that make you happy, whatever they are, however stupid they are, like, oh, I don't know, like going home and having a Fray Bentos pie or something like that. Like, you know, probably that is not haute cuisine, but I love it when that puff pastry starts to rise up in the oven. You know,
maybe that's what the Rock's cooking.
Maybe that's what it is. That's what it is. I'll have to have him round for a Fray Bentos and a
He's
chat.
in Glasgow soon.
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh, is he coming to Bristol? Do you know?
Nah, sorry. No, that's cool. So, how important are organisations like Back Onside and the many other good causes that are raising awareness? Like, there can never be too much talk about this stuff, can there?
I take my hat off to people that give their life, you know, like Livy there, like, you know, like give their life to other people. Always, like, you know, altruistic people. They're, like, you know, just ordinary people doing extraordinary things. And I think that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. Because, you know, people get to breathe a little easier and stuff like that. Like, you know, you can come along and you can speak to people, you know, and you can set a solid foundation for you to be, like, you know, for you to build on for the rest of your life. And that's invaluable. We all need an arm around our shoulder. We all need, like, you know, to be listened to. We all need to be heard. And, like, you know, and the more public and overt, groups like this are, the easier it'll be for everybody, like, you know, to understand that we all go through it together. Not one person left out. Everybody struggles from time to time, and it's okay to struggle. It's fine, and it's good to talk, and it's good to kind of set those solid foundations for you to be able to blossom as a person.
Yeah. And it's quite important for people who haven't suffered with serious issues to kind of take note as well, because I'm a big believer in maintenance as well.
Yeah.
You know, like, I'm a very moody person, as Libby will tell you, and I always know that if I don't sort of look after myself, that I could maybe go one way or the other, you know. So maintenance is just as important as addressing issues.
You're absolutely right. Yeah. Like you say, like, prevention's better than cure. Like, you know, like, you wouldn't, you know, you're not going to wait until, like, you know, until, like, you know, ground zero or whatever. If there's things that you can do beforehand, then, like, you know, like, and it's a daily thing. Like, you know, it's a daily thing. It's looking after yourself every single day. Like, you know, like, you know, before you're kind of drowning in, like, you know, in the weight of the pressure that you've put upon yourself. Like, you know, just, like, you know, keep talking. There's always somebody that's going to listen. Like, you know, if you don't feel like you've got, you know, like a friendship circle or, like, you know, or family or someone like that you can reach out to, there are professional people, there are groups that you can come to, you know, things like Back Onside that you can come to that are only too willing, like, you know, and want to hear from you, you know. And then from that, like, you know, you meet your friends, like, you know how to kind of, you'll be better placed to kind of address those issues. It's just having a little bit, a few more tools in your utility belt, innit? Like, that's all it is. Like, the more tools that you got, the more able you're going to be able to be to kind of fix your own problems, to be a self-starter, to be able to build up from that. So however bad you're feeling right now, like, you know, it can and it will get better. Like, you know, reach out, pick up the phone or whatever, like, you know, because there are an army of beautiful people that are going to help you. I know that sounds really wanky and it sounds really pretentious. It might even sound a bit abstract, but it's the truth. It's the truth.
Absolutely. Lastly, Joe.
Oh, I thought you were going to shake me out, man.
I left you hanging.
It was like Frank Lampard with the respect reject. Mugging me right off. I told him I loved him as well.
What advice would you give to an 18-year-old Joe Sims, knowing what you know now?
I think probably just stop spending your time with wankers.
Wait, say no more. Say no more. That's it. Joe Sims, absolute pleasure. Thank you
so
very much, mate.
Cheers, mate.